We'll help you.
Welcome everyone to the New York Harbor. Today we are in the beautiful Hudson, about to venture over to a very historic vessel that I'm so excited to visit. It's called the LILAC, and it is something that tended lighthouses. We'll learn more about what that means. I'm Ariel, this is Classic Harborline, and today we're going to visit the LILAC at Pier 25, which is down there. That is downtown Manhattan, and we can see the World Trade Center over there in the distance. Jersey City's over here, and right now we are on the Kingston with Captain Shannon at the helm. And let me know where you're watching from. I'm so excited to show all of you this beautiful history of the LILAC today. We're gonna go inside the ship as well, which is so exciting. And slam that like button right now so we can bring these videos to more people all around the world so they can join us on the water, so we can put this boat at capacity. And feel free to ask any questions. I run the show called Urbanists Exploring Cities, where you can also see cities all around the world. But let's meet the two stars of the hour today. We have Mary and Jerry. How's it going?
Hi, Ariel.
I'm so excited. Tell me about the LILAC. What is the LILAC?
Well, it's really an unusual ship. It's one of only 3 lighthouse tenders that still survive. And what that means is it brought supplies to lighthouses and tended other aids to navigation. That includes all the signposts in the waters that help ships to find their way. So her job was extremely important to keep ships moving safely.
Oh, that's amazing. And then what year does it date back to? So it's the 90th anniversary just passed.
Right, yeah. She turned 90 on May 26th. She was launched in 1933 for the U.S. Lighthouse Service, which was a civilian agency that later became part of the Coast Guard. And the Coast Guard does tend aids to navigation to this day.
Yeah. And it's a vessel that tends to lighthouses, or at least it used to be.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Well, now they're all automated, but back in LILAC's day, they had keepers who lived in the lighthouses, usually with their families. And so whatever they needed, if they were in a lighthouse out on a rock or a shoal, had to be brought in by boat. And so the lighthouse tenders did that.
Oh, fascinating. And it has been preserved.
Yes.
So it was decommissioned many decades ago.
Yes, it was decommissioned in 1972. So it's been 50 years already since she last operated. One of her other unique things is she still has her steam engines, also very rare. So back in 2003, Jerry, who's sitting next to me, he's a steam engine collector and historian, and he and some other historic ship friends decided that LILAC needed to be saved.
Oh, that's awesome. Jerry, tell us more about that.
Yeah, so in the 20 years since we got the LILAC, I can safely say that LILAC has enriched my life and de-riched my bank account. That's all I have to say.
So it was an expensive endeavor then to preserve
yes, and sometimes it's ignorance is bliss when it comes to old ships. In other words, if you really do your homework and you check every last thing and make sure of everything, you're not going to do it.
Right.
And so in some ways it's better just to not really know what's going to happen, because then you do it. And so the Huntley Gill, who's with the fireboat Harvey, and Pam Hepburn, who was with the tug Pegasus, we went down there and we looked at it, and it looked like it was okay. And now 20 years later, well, it wasn't quite as good as we thought it was. And so, that took hunks of cash to get it to where it is, and it's not even close to running yet. So we still have a ton of work to do.
I read online the figure around 250,000.
Where'd you get that number?
It was in the website.
Oh, the first haul was 250. Yes,
Okay.
But I mean, all I know is this. So, of the 5 kids I did not have, I put in the LILAC.
And do you think it was a worthy sacrifice?
Yes, actually.
Oh, nice. And why preserve the LILAC? Why preserve a lighthouse tender?
Well, you can come up with a lot of wonderful, social things about how it does this good thing and good thing, but the reality is I just did it because I like them. I like old ships, and so I wanted to save an old ship. And I'd already been trying to save old ships well before LILAC,
Right.
and they were either scrapped or they went to another port, or so LILAC was going to be the last, how should we say, gasp to save an old ship.
And I read also on the website that was the only steam-powered lighthouse tender in America still around.
Yes,
Is that
definitely.
the case?
There
Oh,
are
wow.
other two
That's fascinating.
pre-World War II lighthouse tenders, but
Yeah.
they were dieselized. So this is the last steamer, and the oldest one.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And what would have been a day in the life of the LILAC when it was in service?
Well, they were home ported on the Delaware River, downstream from Philadelphia, and they were maintaining the aids to navigation all the way down the Delaware River and maybe up the Delaware too, wherever was navigable. And then they would go out into Delaware Bay and take care of buoys there, and also the lighthouses that were actually in the water. They would pile up rocks to get a foundation, and the lighthouse would be in the water. And so therefore you needed a ship to take care of it. Lighthouses that are like on land, like let's say the lighthouses in Long Island, they could probably be serviced by land via vehicles. But if it's in the water, it has to be a lighthouse tender.
Right.
If you'd really like to hear what it was like, back in the day, maybe we should talk to Guy who served on board.
Oh, this is so exciting. Yeah, let's go.
Shall
Let's
we?
go back in time, shall we? Thank you so much, Jerry. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Excuse me, Guy, we were just getting asked about what it was like back in the
Guy.
day for LILAC to do her job, and I thought you're the best person to talk about that.
Well, back in my days, that was from 62 to 64.
Yeah.
I was aboard for almost the whole entire 2 years.
Oh, wow.
I came aboard from Firebush, which is home ported in Staten Island at the time, 180 footer. And I got down there as XO, that's number 2. And I had a Mustang skipper, a former Coast Guard chief boatswain mate, who went up through the ranks and got commissioned. And Bob Hansen saw his job as being to teach me about aids to navigation. Because the Lighthouse service became part of the Coast Guard in '39.
Oh, I see.
And the old wikis, as we referred to the Lighthouse service people, they hung around for a while, but they were disappearing. And the 3rd District of the Coast Guard in those days was in New York, and the chief of the branch was a fellow by the name of Wayne Goff. He was the captain, and he became the last wiki to be the chief of the Aids to Navigation Division at Coast Guard headquarters.
Oh, wow.
So the wikis were a dying breed,
Yeah.
and now we have all these coasties coming in, learning something the Coast Guard never did before.
And what type of buoys and lighthouses were you tending to? How far out?
Well, LILAC's territory at that time went from Philadelphia down to the bay,
Oh, wow.
Delaware Bay, in Liston Range, and coming up Liston Range was Sassafras, who was home ported in Cape May. And Elizabeth's husband, Jack, was the ops officer aboard Sassafras. And he was a classmate of mine.
Oh, okay.
We knew each other from the yachts in the academy.
Yeah.
We raced against each other, for years we've known each other.
raced using the boats or?
Yachts, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yachts. Okay, wonderful.
One of which was petrol, 70-footer.
Oh, nice.
We used to cruise out of the battery
Yeah.
up here. I don't
Oh,
know
wow.
if you've ever run across her or not.
No, I have not.
But that was my area, and we went down onto List came up from the ocean and met us part way. We used to cover for each other when one of us was in maintenance.
Was there one lighthouse that was particularly treacherous to try to tend to?
It depends who you're talking about it being treacherous for.
How about for yourself personally?
For us,
Yeah.
the biggest one that I had a problem with was the one time we went into Brandywine Shoal
Okay.
to service them. I had never been in there before, neither had Bob Hansen. And to go in, we're going across the current.
Oh, okay.
And there's a lot of rocks around it. You got to work your way in just right. And this is to refuel them or bring them supplies. Sassafras did it. She was a 180. Single screw, less maneuverable than we were. But they could do it, so we could do it.
And you would do it through storms and through clear days alike, or you always
that
watch
was
out
the
for the
one time
weather?
I was in there.
Okay.
But the rest of the lighthouses down on the bay
Yeah.
were a piece of cake.
Oh, nice.
Except for the one that got knocked down.
Oh no. What happened?
The ship was coming up the channel. It was foggy.
Yeah.
And this lighthouse was dead ahead in the center of the channel. And they didn't make the turn of the buoy before the lighthouse.
Ooh.
And just went and smashed into the lighthouse.
Oh,
and
my God.
demolished it. Ship, I think that was Ship John Shoal. Was the name of the lighthouse.
Yeah.
Elbow across ledge, I think.
Elbow Ledge Cross Light. Okay, that was down there. That's dangerous to the people who live the buoy.
Glad that the lilac. That said, all those times that you've been on the lilac, are you glad that's being preserved right now?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's a it's a piece of history. It's part of my life.
Okay.
It's where I cut my teeth in the agency navigation business, which is the only part of the Coast Guard I've ever been in.
And where did your career continue after the lilac?
After Lilac, I went to Loran Station in Port Clarence, Alaska.
Oh, nice.
That's a whole nother separate world.
right.
Then after that, I went to grade school to become a, quote, lighthouse engineer,
Oh, wow.
unquote. 3 years to get master's degrees in optics and acoustics.
Yeah.
From there, I went to the Field Testing and Development Center in Curtis Bay, Maryland. And then I went to headquarters at the new office of R&D.
Oh, wow. Okay. Very long career then.
Well, that was still the first half of it.
Oh, that's touche.
And I was in there wishing I was somewhere else.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, my phone rang one day. I'm in headquarters. And this is so-and-so at the Office of Personnel. We have an opening for you as CEO of Sagebrush in San Juan, Puerto Rico. How
nice.
soon can you be there? Well, this is after the normal rotation season. Seems somebody had a problem and they needed a new skipper.
Oh, cool.
And I'd already been okayed, and it was slated to go somewhere the following summer.
Right.
But they knew I was single. They knew I owned a house in Bowie, and single guys could be moved anytime. If you got a wife and kids and you just put them in school, they don't like to
It's a
move
bit
them.
trickier, yeah.
So I told them, yes, and yes, except I have one minor problem.
What?
A week and a half from now, I'm due to leave for 2 weeks in Barcelona representing the United States at the Commission Internationale de l'Éclairage, where I am the secretary for the international group, and this, that, and the other thing, and I'm presenting an invited paper, and there's no time to find somebody to replace me this
Right.
late. So you're going to have to wait for me to go over there and come back. In the meantime, I got to find something to do with my house. I got to pack up my goods and whatnot. How soon can you be there? I said, well, I'll be there within a month of when I get back.
Yeah.
Okay, that was close enough. So that got me down to the Caribbean. Henceforth, I sometimes refer to myself as Captain Caribbean.
That's amazing.
I was down.
And did the Lilac ever venture down to the Caribbean, or did it stick
No, not
around?
this lilac. The original lilac.
The
did.
original one, okay.
This is the second lilac.
Oh, I see.
We're backtracking. I get my stories mixed up.
Oh, yeah, no, sorry about that.
The original lilac used to be home ported
Okay.
at St. George and took care of the AIDS in the Caribbean out of St. George. And she was built in 1896.
Wow. Quite a while back.
And
yeah.
by the time the current lilac was built, she was long gone.
Yeah,
And they reused names of ships.
right.
And we don't put a 1, 2, 3, etc. after it. So a lot of people don't know that you have the second lilac.
And I heard that you two crossed paths before on the Lilac because of
Yes.
your husband.
Was captain.
It was Captain, okay.
Yeah, and we're best friends.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, he's Uncle Guy to my children. And
Yeah.
I'm on Elizabeth to his children.
Okay.
Oh,
Thank you so much for your backstory of the Lilac. I appreciate that. So tell us a little bit more about your husband who was Captain.
well, I'll
of
get
the
over here
Lilac. Yeah.
next to Guy because
Yeah.
they're classmates, and he'll have to fill me in on some
Okay,
of the details.
So both of you, both your husband and Guy worked together for a while.
I don't think you were ever on this.
And Paul, if I can interject, Dick Applebaum was part of our carpool. And Admiral Applebaum,
And we're sorry to interrupt, but we're seeing a buoy.
Oh, that's the buoy.
One type of buoy
I
that you
to-
might have
Can I do my
tended.
just kind of? I want to do here. The ashes.
I thought we were doing for no.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Sorry. Yeah, I get forgetful too. Sorry.
But
that buoy was built after I retired.
Right, right. Of course, yeah. I can imagine.
But it's a 5 or 6 footer. It's a harbor buoy, and it marks the left side of the channel returning from sea.
Oh, I see.
The right side going to sea.
Going to see. Okay. And some of them were very heavy as well, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
they get
multiple
they
tons.
get heavy. Lilacs, most of their channel buoys on the Delaware were 6 by 20s, 6 feet diameter, 20 feet from the bottom of the tube to the lantern at the top, and weighed pushing 8,000 pounds.
Oh, great.
They come bigger than that. On Firebush, I had 9 footers and 8 footers.
Right. Oh, wonderful. And then, as you were saying about your
Yeah, my husband was captain of the Lilac from 1960 to 1970, and we had 3 small children, and she was stationed in Philadelphia, and that was the first ship he was captain of. So it meant a great deal to us.
Right.
And my whole family, we all fell in love with the engine room because if you've ever seen the movie The Sand Pebbles,
10 times.
the Sand Pebbles it has this steam-driven engine. And I had a baby, and two-year-old, 4-year-old, and a baby, and I would take the baby board, and the quartermaster, right? What was his name? Oh God, we love Moose. It was Moose. Yeah, this huge man would take care of my little baby, and we'd go and I'd have dinner with my husband on the ship and everything, and I'd go down to the engine room, and it was like the Sand Pebbles. I always wanted to go over to the engine because when I went on a couple of trips and you could see her working, and I always wanted to walk up and pat her like her fanny, and so we took pictures of the engine. And I have them somewhere, and I've promised Mary that I will try my best to get them. And I don't know if they're just, falling apart or whatever, but I'm going to try. But that was a very exciting time for us. And we moved from there, went to Washington, And from Washington, we went to Maine, and my husband was captain of the Sassafras, the ocean-going buoy tender. And we were there, and there were two other ships. What were they, Guy?
Bramble and I'll have to think on
All
that.
gone.
Okay, think on that one.
All gone.
I wrote that
Yeah.
down somewhere. Oh, yeah, it's in his obituary.
It's in my husband's. My husband passed away in February, so that's why I'm here. I'm honoring my husband,
Oh,
and they were classmates, and we're dear friends.
oh, I'm glad you're keeping his memory alive, especially
Yes.
with the lilac as well.
Yes, and
yeah.
my husband, our last name was Midget.
Okay.
This is from class of '61, never outdone, and this was the 50th reunion, and I found this in my husband's belongings, so I thought I'd honor him today and wear it. And I forgot what I was going to say. It's terrible getting old.
That's so kind of you to remember him in that fashion.
Well, I remember now. The midgets are from Hatteras Island, and when the Coast Guard was a new service, they used to call it the Midget Navy because there were so many midgets from Hatteras in the Coast Guard.
Okay.
And my husband was the first midget to graduate from the Coast Guard Academy, so it was quite an honor.
To clarify, it's the last name, just
Yeah.
for the audience. Yeah.
Yeah,
with
midget.
that.
And
yeah.
but we called him Jack, but his name was John.
Okay.
And I'm here today to represent him, to honor him in his memory.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So.
And how was it being the wife of a captain that's always at sea?
Well, that was I knew that when I was
You knew
going
it.
to marry him. And it was an exciting life. We moved a great deal. When my husband was captain of the Sassafras up in Maine, he would take my sons out one at a time, and they would, I guess maybe, I don't know if I should say that. Well, he's gone. They can't do anything. He would take the boys, he would let the boys go out with the crew, and they
Yeah.
were young, but he would let them go out with the crew, and they would work on the buoys and all kinds of stuff, and they say that was the most wonderful time of their life. And it was really exciting. But we went to a lot of places, saw a lot of things, and my husband and I both grew up on the water, and we both sailed, and the sea is part of our life. So,
How was retirement for him?
well, when he retired from the Coast Guard, he went into the Merchant Marine.
Oh wow. Okay, so he kept on working.
So, and of course, he got his captain's license. He was he was a captain of the tugboats.
Yeah.
And he came up to New York, and he's from here all the way down to Florida and intercoastal and everything. And he just loved the sea. He loved, and so he retired, I think, in 2000. I don't know. He was in his No, he was in his 70s. After we moved up in the mountains, he retired, and but I got scared. People don't realize how dangerous it is, and I said, I think you're old enough. I think you're old enough. I think you're getting too old. You need to retire. Stay home.
And was he part of the preservation project?
Well, Mary very much wanted him to come. She would talk to him on the telephone.
Oh, nice.
And this is how we met. She's an absolute sweetheart. And we're very honored to have the LILAC in memory as a museum. I think it's a very important part of the Coast Guard. She's the oldest steam reciprocating engine in the left, right? And the engine is fabulous. Like I said, watch the sand pebbles. It's in the movie, and it's unbelievable. But it's just wonderful that it's being preserved and kept for history, because it is a part of history.
Of course, yeah.
And I'm very much a patriot, as we are.
Yeah.
And this is part of our history of the United States of America.
Exactly, yeah. Especially, so it was associated with the Coast Guard, so...
Well, yeah, the Coast Guard was well, it wasn't the Coast Guard. It was their first service was the Lighthouse service, the Lighthouse service. Yeah.
That was the previous one. It's had several names in the past, but it was the Lighthouse service from 1908 or thereabouts until 1939.
Right. Oh, that's wonderful.
And then it became the Midget Navy, or Coast Guard. So.
And what was your fondest memory?
Then the United States government,
Yeah.
the Coast Guard, built a ocean-going icebreaker,
Oh, wow.
and they named it the U.S. Coast Guard Cutter Midget.
Oh. Oh.
And it was named after my husband's family, our cousin John. And Morehead City, North Carolina, we were living in Bowie then. And she went to California. Why they put her in California? Well, she was an icebreaker, but she's now recently, is she retired yet? Yeah, she's retired. The U.S. Coast Guard Cutter Midget has been retired. But that was quite an honor, too.
And were you able to go on the Lilac while your
Yes,
husband
we
was
were.
in service?
They had a big, in Morehead City, they had a huge, what would you call it, Guy? It was the beginning of the christening of the midget, and they invited the entire midget family from Hatteras. There was any midget, well, they were all related, DNA. They invited the entire midget family, and it was an enormous crowd in Morehead City. Brand new ship, and they put it, the National Geographic came down and took pictures, and my husband is on the front of the National Geographic with the midget, U.S. Coast Guard Cutter Midget.
Oh, wow.
Because he he was the first midget that graduated from the Coast Guard Academy. I think there were a couple of officers on the ship that had a higher rank than my husband.
Around what year would have this been, the National Geographic cover?
We were in Bowie, Maryland then, so that was 69. We were there in 70.
Got the buoy in
71, 72. I would say 72, 73.
Wow.
National
If
Geographic.
anyone watching could dig up that National Geographic cover, that would be amazing.
We do
Yeah.
have a copy
Oh,
of
you do
the
have a copy.
archives
Oh,
of Lilac.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah, I have several copies at home that I saved for my children.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, but if you look in the history, the midget family goes. I mean, they've written books and books and books on the family. They were the lifesavers,
Right.
and the actual lighthouse down there in the life station on Hatteras. When they retired the station, they found out that the land still belonged to the midget family, and it had to come back. So it's a long history. It's a very proud family.
And how did it pass on to the next generation, ultimately?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Oh, there's always midgets in the Coast Guard.
But also, in terms of working on the Lilac, the people who continued the Lilac's.
Yeah, I
legacy.
think one thing I just want to say is the midgets are legendary in both the Life Saving Service and the Coast Guard, and we're very proud to have not just Jack Midget as one of our captains, but we've had other midgets who served on board Lilac in the past. But nowadays, we are doing almost everything we do with volunteers. And it's still very much a workboat. We're all working very hard. We all get dirty. I think I don't have a single Lilac shirt that's not stained. But it's always been pretty informal. It was a workboat. Families came on board for dinner back when she was in active service, and we're still almost like family today. And
Thank you so much for both of you for talking and chatting with us and telling us your stories.
Well, thank you
Yeah.
for being here and interviewing us. We
That's
appreciate
amazing.
it.
All right, so let's go to the new generation of the Lilac.
Yeah, a couple of our volunteers are right here with us, and I think I'll start with Risa because she's worked with us longer than John has. Risa started with us as a high school student at Stuyvesant High School.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes, it's nice to talk about her. I was always really interested in like ships and naval history, and as I spent more time in high school, I was like thinking about what I'd like to do. And I went to high school right near where she docks in Pier 25, Stuyvesant High School.
Right.
And there would be a newsletter out pretty much every month talking about opportunities where students could apply themselves and learn more about what they want to do in their careers. And the Lilac was featured as one of the volunteer experiences that you can go through as a high school student there. And I was really interested in like physics and math, and I was like, you know what, maybe I want to do engineering. And I was like, maybe I can combine that with my interest in naval history. And so I decided to take some volunteering time at Lilac, and I've really come to enjoy the experience there. Everyone's so friendly, and I really love how they really emphasize in the preservation of her identity and her history. Because I think as an engineering major, we always really fun. Let's move forward. Let's not really worry about the past, and let's just keep on innovating. But I think there's a certain thing we have to say about, you know, taking care of the past and looking at
Right.
like what are like some of the artifacts and things we have to learn about by like looking at these ships and looking at these buildings and looking at these vessels. And I think it's like really amazing how some people have like dedicated their lives and times to preserving her. And I think it really says a lot about how we can look at the past and like take more information about it, I guess.
Because none of that technology is outdated. It can still be
Yeah.
used and learned about.
Yeah, and even as an engineering student who's learning about like, you know, the most modern, you know, like how engines are put together today, there's still a lot of things I can learn about by taking time with the LILAC and learning, hey, like I can see how this was so innovative of its time. You know, if we think about that, you know, in recent times, maybe we can apply something from there again and, you know, even innovate it even further.
And seen anything in the LILAC that you thought to yourself, oh wow, that's something we should bring back now to engineering?
Well, I don't bring back, but like seeing how like things and concepts are like still being applied. Like for example, like the condenser in the engine room, and seeing like, oh, like that's something I learned about in thermodynamics, right? And in a class setting, you don't really see the real world application of it. You learn about all the theories in your textbooks, but then when you actually go out and you're like, hey, wait, I see that now, and then it's like it really like puts you into like a focus of like what I'm doing has like a real world application.
Oh, fascinating. And then how about yourself? What's your role on the LILAC?
I'm John Kersey. I started off as a volunteer, I think a year ago now, and I was looking for something to do during the pandemic. My husband and I had moved here from California, and we were stuck with the pandemic. And when the city was finally opening up, I went for a walk along the trails here next to the Hudson, and I saw this beautiful ship. And I've loved ships since I was a kid, and I wanted to find out more about it. And then before I knew it, it was gone. And I had no idea it was being docked elsewhere. And I thought, oh man, I missed my opportunity. But I kept an eye out for it, and it came back. And I talked to Mary, and I've been helping out ever since. I went to college for history, art history, and now I can apply that knowledge. And yeah, it's great to talk to guests and give them an idea of the history behind it, because as was mentioned, this is part of our nation's history.
Right.
And yeah, it's important to try to restore it and bring it back and explain it to the general public. That makes sense and is kind of interesting, and maybe want to get some more help in restoring it. Engaging the public is important.
Has it been? How has it been trying to get more first-hand accounts of LILAC, or have you been involved with that?
Yeah, everybody I've met is like, "Wow, this is an amazing ship," and they want to be, part of it. I think it's just letting people know that this is available. Come aboard and learn more and contribute. People are out there; they just have to be reached, and that's, I think, what I'm hoping I can help out with in this project.
If you had to give people one good reason for visiting the LILAC, what would it be?
Oh, she's an amazing ship, and being the last, the oldest lighthouse buoy tender out there, with her original steam engine, I think that's enough.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
That's amazing, especially with the backstories of this duo over here. Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Were you wanting to say?
He mentioned the steam engine, and I want to give the age of it. I may be wrong on this guy. Help me out. I think the age on the steam age is dated at 1897. Is that correct?
I don't know.
I have a story for you real quick.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
This is one of my husband's stories. He was on the boat, and she was moored, but the engines were running, and all this black smoke was billowing out of the smokestack. Well, she was a steam engine, and it billowing out. And people were complaining, So the EPA was sent down to the LILAC, and they came aboard ship, and they came to my husband, the ship, and they said, like speak to captain, and they said, we want to know the exact date. It was about 1897, and she's still in operation. And he said, as soon as I get a new engine, that'll all go away. Well, of course, that never happened, but it was so funny that the EPA was sent down to check on a U.S. Coast Guard vessel because she was spewing smoke out of an 18-something engine and a Coast Guard still active vessel.
Well, and not to mention that.
That's funny.
All the waste from the toilets, guess where they sent that?
Oh.
Overboard into the river.
Oh no!
Well, that
we won't tell that to anyone.
Well, that was before EPA and everything. That was
Oh wow!
But I thought that was an interesting story. The EPA came down to check on a Coast Guard vessel. Why are you spewing black smoke into the sky?
What ended up happening?
Nothing. What could they do?
Okay.
For one thing, it was a U.S. Coast Guard vessel, and she was still operating. She was still tending her buoys and lighthouses and such.
Okay.
So, but I think it's a good story.
That's funny. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're more than welcome.
So I think Jack explained to him that the replacement ship was being built at that time. And if they continue to pursue this, that's going to shut down the Delaware River to all shipping. And do they want to be responsible for all that if they
Yeah, that would be very bad.
take Lilac away and nobody can tend to the buoys?
That's true. Yeah. The Lilac was pivotal to maintaining shipping in that area. Wow.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Thank you so much again.
You're more than welcome.
Mary, lead the way. Where shall we go?
I'm gathering my things.
Okay.
We'll go and take a look at Lilac.
Okay, perfect. I'm excited. All right. Who's excited to go inside the Lilac? Let me know. I think everyone here is very excited.
I want to see the engines again.
Gerald, you want me to take your bag for you?
Yes, please. I would appreciate that. It's this one. Yeah.
Thank you. Doesn't matter.
Thank you so much.
So you go ahead with Mary and we'll
Okay,
take
cool.
the rest. See you in a little bit.
Thank you. Thank you again, Captain Shannon. Great job. All right.
Get another adventure on.
And you're also posting on Instagram. What's the Instagram? Your Instagram?
My Instagram is _MangoWolf.
_Mango Wolf. Yeah, check out the behind the scenes Instagram stories. All right. After you. Yeah, thank you so much. Bye. Well, I'll see you too. No, this is our last one together. Yeah. Have a good day. Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Yes.
And they got me to talk while we're walking.
Yeah.
I thought I'd follow up on what they were just saying about the waste going over the side. Is the Clean Water Act came into effect in 1971, and it's part of the reason that the ship was retired.
So right now we are on Pier 25, which is, can you orient the viewer for us, especially for people who are not familiar with New York City?
Right. We're getting off at the marina on the south side of the pier. There's a lot happening at Pier 25, which is part of Hudson River Park. There's a snack bar here, there's mini golf, there's sand volleyball. And over on the other side of the pier, there's docking specifically for historic ships. On this side of the pier, there is a schooner that has a bar and restaurant on board. It's called
nice.
Grand Banks. It's very popular.
And let me, that's the Kingston, everyone. This is our last stream of this week. We only have like 2 more left. So say goodbye to the Kingston. And we're going to do a quick tour for about 15 minutes of the Lilac, 15 to 20 minutes. See what we can see. I'm so excited. Hey Joe says Chip ahoy. Indeed, yeah. Hello Mika says great stories. Says I'm excited. I'm so glad you are. Oleg watching from the Ukraine. Thank you so much for tuning in, Oleg. We have a few Olegs tuning in. We also have Oleg Z from the Ukraine. That's awesome. Joe, thank you so much for your compliment on my interviewing style. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Seb says very spoken young students. Indeed. Wonderfully spoken young students. Mika says, bye-bye, Kingston. It was great, Kingston, yes.
They shouldn't take them off until we find out whether we can get the gate open.
And we have an issue. We have to jump the gate. We have to hop over. They locked it, naturally, for safety measures. because we're just stopping by. By the way, great background, says Joe. Indeed. So look at the gorgeous views over here. Mika says, bye-bye, Kingston. Yeah, I'm going to miss the Kingston. Elias says, great partnership with Classic Harbor Lines. Oh, my pleasure. And feel free to ask any questions to Mary, who will be taking us into the Lilac. I think she said that the Lilac was in Alaska. I think they were referring to another ship.
Let me clarify some of that.
Yeah.
Jack Midget and Guy Clark were classmates at the Coast Guard Academy, but they did not serve on Lilac at the same time.
Okay.
Guy served earlier than Jack did, and Jack was the second to last captain.
Nice.
So Elizabeth is Jack's husband. Or wife.
Thank you so much.
Did I just say that?
And this pier's new? No?
No, Lilac's been here since 2011.
Okay.
We were actually the first thing that opened on the pier.
So the
then.
pier was
It had been newly rebuilt then.
Rebuilt, okay.
The old pier that was here was used to remove debris from the 9/11 attacks. And then it was rebuilt and opened as public recreational space.
Oh, I see. And then the Lilac came over here in 2011.
Right.
Because it was based in Delaware, or was located in
actually, our nonprofit brought it to New York City in 2003 and started out briefly in Brooklyn and then went to Pier 40 here in Hudson River Park because the park's mandated to have historic vessels.
And Christina says, my great-grandfather was the captain of the Lilac from the USLHS Coast Guard.
Oh, the USLHS is the U.S. Lighthouse Service.
Okay.
And they built the Lilac. It was a civilian agency then. And it became part of the Coast Guard in 1939. That's when Lilac joined the Coast Guard.
That's amazing. Christina, let us know your great-grandfather's name. We'll be very curious.
We'd definitely like to know.
Captain Charles L. Lewis.
Oh, yes.
That's awesome.
We
Thank
have
you so
some
much for tuning in.
artifacts on display that came from the family.
Oh, that's amazing. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
yes.
very cool. And then aside from Guy, is there other workers on the Lilac or captains still alive? Or?
Well, since the ship was decommissioned in 1972, we do have quite a few crew members.
Okay.
Not so many officers because they were older to begin with when they served on board.
Right.
But many of the seamen were 17 or 18 when they served. So actually quite a few of them who are still with us.
So Elizabeth's husband would have been the last captain, probably still.
He was
survived.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing but it's amazing that you're keeping those stories alive as well.
Yeah, it's actually my favorite part of working here is talking to the veterans.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely. All right, lead the way.
Okay, we're going to go around this way. I think it's
cool.
shorter. And there's also a water playground for kids and a skate park for the teenagers.
Oh, that's great that they added all of this. Yeah, it's great to see the piers all revitalized too.
Yes, they're built in locations where historically there were piers for shipping.
Would the Lilac ever come to New York City?
It did go to Staten Island, and in fact,
I think Guy mentioned that, right?
I think, he talked about Staten Island.
Yeah.
It was all part of the same district at the time, and so they did sometimes come here. He has a home movie that we have on our website and YouTube channel that shows Lilac on a trip to Staten Island. So here she is.
And I showed that earlier when we were talking to Mary, so you can refer to earlier in the video or go to the Lilac Preservation Project YouTube channel. So here is the Lilac, very interesting vessel, very interesting shape to it.
Yes.
Different from what I'm used to seeing with other
Well, this is the back. So like the mariners like to say, the pointy end is the bow.
Okay.
And landlubbers don't know the difference between the pointy end and the other end.
Right.
And we can actually go up our forward gangway here, and then you can get a look at the bow, because we were just recently in the shipyard. We spent a month in dry dock and did a lot of work on her. Mostly, as far as what's visible, is repainting, although we did a couple repairs to the steel as well. And as part of that, we painted her call number back on the bow. in the way it would have been after World War II. And if you come a little further forward, you can see the lighthouses.
Nice.
There were bronze lighthouses on the bow when she was with the U.S. Lighthouse Service. Those would not have been there when she was in the Coast Guard. And we just, from the descendant of Captain Lewis,
Yeah.
Captain Lewis transferred to the Coast Guard from the Lighthouse Service along with the ship. And he was told to throw emblems of the Lighthouse Service away, throw those bronze lighthouses over the side. And he couldn't do it, couldn't bring himself to do it. So he passed them down through his family. And when one of his grandsons died about 2 years ago, the family went looking for a museum to donate them to, and they came back to us. So these are replicas because we wanted to protect the originals. But we have the original bronze lighthouses back on Lilac.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Joe has a very interesting observation. He says it kind of looks like a houseboat because it kind of juts out very sharply from.
It's very high on the front.
Yeah.
You know, because of the kind of work she did, it determined the design. It has a very shallow draft. The draft is how much ship is under the water, and you can see the number
Very
7. So there's less than 7 feet of the ship under the water right now.
Oh, wow.
When she would be loaded with supplies, it would sit lower in the water. But she was designed to be able to go up to lighthouses where it's very shallow or rocky, so she had a very shallow draft, a high
That's
front.
why it's very low in the back, right?
Yes, and then
The
back
stern.
here,
Okay.
the buoy deck is a big open area. You'll recognize the buoy tender to this day by the big open buoy deck with the boom for lifting buoys out of the water. So
And
why don't we get a better look at it?
Why is this so high?
To keep the water out.
To keep the water out.
It had to be out in all weather, plowing through the waves.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. All right.
There's
Let's take.
buoys that are all the way out at sea
Yeah.
before you get into the Delaware Bay. And just like in New York Harbor, the buoys all the way out still need to be tended to, and that's in the ocean
In the ocean.
with big waves.
Oh.
So she potentially would have to go out there to attend to those buoys as well,
To open ocean.
to the open ocean.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. And then this would be also where there's very high waves as well. Pardon
you
my
always have
ignorance
that.
with the
yeah,
ocean. Yeah.
Yes, you always have that potential in the ocean.
Okay.
Her primary thing was in upriver,
Yeah.
but she had to be able to attend to offshore in the ocean.
And Elias asks, how much did this cost?
The most recent
Well,
work.
when it was originally built,
Oh,
1930s.
I know I've seen that number, but I don't remember.
Okay.
Our nonprofit bought her for $25,000 in 2003,
That
and
sounds
then
like a steal.
yes. But one thing is, you never buy a boat without looking at her bottom.
Uh-oh.
And so we hauled her out at a shipyard,
Yeah.
and they put $250,000 into her,
Oh, okay.
but accepted her. It's in pretty good shape,
So
really.
it's similar to buy a used car.
Yes.
There's no such thing as a cheap boat.
No. I think Jerry was referring to that when he said he was de-riched.
Oh, that's right.
But then our recent haul, the shipyard that we were at was very kind to us and did 3 times the amount of work we were really able to pay for,
Right.
and just donated the rest. So we're very, very lucky. They
And-
did amazing work.
Ellen has a great question. Why is it called the Lilac? I don't see the ship being painted lilac.
No.
So why is that?
There was a tradition of naming lighthouse tenders for flowers and trees. So other ones were the maple and the fir. Those are the other 2 that still survive. The oak, the bramble, which Guy mentioned as one that Captain Midget served on later.
Sassafras.
The sassafras. There was a tulip. There was a mistletoe, a firebush, all named for flowers and trees.
Do you want to get ahead and go inside?
Yes, why don't we go in? Hello.
Hello, Captain.
Come on in.
Thank you so much. All right.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going? All right. Wow. It's big.
Yeah, so this is what I was referring to as the big open deck where the buoys would be brought on board.
Okay.
And The crane over your head was for lifting those out of the water.
How tall would this be?
That's a good question, but I can tell you it's rated to lift 20 tons.
20 tons. Wow,
Yes.
that's plenty.
So there was a separate steam engine just to run the boom.
Wow, okay. Is that
And
steam engine still here?
yes,
It
that
is.
part's not open to the public,
Of course, yeah.
although I could take you.
Shall we get exclusive access? And then why? So, for people who don't know, the deck is wavy. Why is it wavy?
Yes, and I don't know if that's coming through well on a camera.
It's not, yeah.
But yes,
Oh,
it's
yeah, it's
rippled,
wavy.
and that's
There we go.
because of the buoys, which are very heavy steel objects themselves,
Okay.
hitting the deck when they brought them on board.
These are dense.
Yes, so those are dense. The high points are the supporting frames underneath.
And that's why the ship is painted black in order to not show the
yes,
scratches
hull,
and the
yes,
dents.
that's the reason the outside is black, because things were banging against it all the time. They banged the buoys against the side as they brought them aboard. And there's
Very
a
clever.
section here of the bulwark
Yeah.
that you can actually lift out using the boom
Oh.
to make it easier to get the buoys onto the deck.
That's so cool. Oh, wow.
So,
And what's the biggest buoy do you think they brought on here?
there's actually a good photo here.
Ooh, cool. Where are these tours available on the LILAC SDS?
Well, we're open every weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and it's a semi-self-guided tour.
Okay.
But this is one of the biggest buoys she could lift. But
Wow.
you can see how the size of the buoy compares to the sailors on deck.
Is the videos you have on your site?
No, this
No,
one's, we
that's
don't
a
have video
different-
of this one.
Okay. Wow. That's amazing.
But some of them are huge because they're marking the entrance to the Delaware River. She worked on the Delaware to guide ships in from sea.
I'm going to pop up a video of another buoy that's being hauled on to the ship.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
because
do have some.
it's on our website. I'm not sure what buoy that one is, but
Yeah, I
It's
don't
a-
know if we
yeah.
can tell. It's that particular film is really contrasty, so
Very
it's
contrasty,
hard
okay.
to see some of those details.
awesome. Show us more of the ship. I would love to see
Okay, well,
it.
let's go to the engine room. Although I'd like to bring along some of my
Colleagues,
restoration guys.
I'll let you go to them as I show a little bit around. So as we're seeing a little bit historical footage of the LILAC and its duties. Christina says our family still has pictures of Captain Lewis at the helm. Wow. Oh, that's so cool. Christina, if you happen to have him uploaded somewhere, do feel free to comment the link right now, or that would be amazing because we would love to. I'm sure a lot of viewers would love to see it if you happen to have it posted online and want to share. And we also have the gold buttons of the Lighthouse logo from the USLHS, the U.S. Lighthouse Service coat. That is awesome. Ooh, original buttons for the coat. That is awesome. That's actually, wow, that is really awesome. I really love those old military jackets, personally. All right.
So I've gathered some of my guys here.
Christina says Mary has them. Oh, cool. That's awesome. All right. I'll ask Mary about it.
And we're going to go into the engine room and see those engines.
I haven't introduced you yet. Angus.
Angus McCamey.
What do you do?
I'm a marine engineer. I'm a marine engineer, so
Okay.
trying to get these engines working again.
Oh, again, interesting. Yeah, because
Well, that's the whole
historic.
The whole intrigue here is being able to actually see these engines move. Because, as was indicated before, when they're moving, it's a completely different animal. It's the engines are like inside out.
Inside out. One thing you gotta remember is that if you're gonna be a marine engineer,
Yeah.
you gotta like it hot.
Right. You do have to like it hot. Just like Marilyn Monroe, some like it hot. That is amazing. What is this that we're looking
So,
at? I love this.
We got two engines.
Okay.
Okay, port engine, starboard engine. They're triple expansion, and if you look, you can see a small cylinder, a medium-sized one, and a big one. And these are the three cylinders, and there's three expansions. You have first one, second, and a
So in movies, when they say fire at all cylinders,
all three cylinders, or in this case six, Yes.
Oh, okay. I see. Perfect.
Actually, that would be internal combustion when they say that.
Okay.
The fire is in the boiler
True.
room, so not really fire in the cylinders.
Okay.
There's steam in the cylinders.
So these engines
Thank you
ran
for
on
clarifying.
these ran on steam, boiling water, and the water was boiled in the boiler room,
Which is right next
right
to us.
behind here. And then the steam would come through these pipes and be directed to the engine.
So these pipes would be really
Very,
hot?
very hot.
Dangerously hot.
Dangerously hot. They would have had 4 inches of insulation around them.
Okay, so let me not stand
so
too
you
close.
wouldn't be. Otherwise, it would take your flesh off. You're talking 500 degrees,
Oh, wow.
just like that.
Yeah, I'm just casually standing right next to it. And then, what is this over here?
Mary.
We're going to send you a signal.
Let's go down here. Yeah, thank you so much, Angus.
The engine telegraph.
Yes, engine order telegraph. So it is a telegraph, meaning a device that sends a message over distance, and engine order telegraph because it sends engine orders. So we're getting orders from the bridge telling us how fast and what direction to run the engine.
So the captain technically did not have direct control.
He does not have control. He has to
No.
trust his engineer. So when he says goes forward, the engineer makes the engine go forward at the right speed that he needs to go.
I see.
I can't see where I'm going, so I have to trust the captain knows where he wants to go. Oh, wow. And when he says stop, oh, I need to answer this. Oh, okay, stand by. So it'd be all. I'm just standing by, waiting for the next order.
Oh, that's
I
Watch your ears, everyone.
He's making nonsense now. I don't know why I don't even bother answering.
Stand by, go.
I think he might have been having a few too many.
And it has to be loud enough to be heard through the boilers and the engines.
Now, the
running.
thing about steam, there's no bang like
Okay.
in like a gasoline engine or a diesel engine. So it's very quiet.
So they want us to go full steam ahead.
Nope, slow
Slow
stern.
steam,
Then
okay.
We would shift it to a stern position, and then we would watch our RPM here, and there'd be a predetermined revolutions per minute
Oh, wow.
for slow, half, or full. And you would say, okay, I'm doing about slow with maybe around 20 RPM maybe. Half might be about 40, and then 80 full. Whatever the speed is until he says he really wants it, and then
What's
you
the
don't have to
max?
do that. Don't know what the max is. Probably not much more than 120. Knowing an engine of this type and the propellers, it would maximum. You don't want to start spinning these things too fast.
So Susie in the comments and Joe are saying we have a winner, like because it sounds like The Price is Right. It also sounds like a dinner bell as well.
We should tell them to do the gong, but I don't know if that's right.
And then this connects via chains all the way to the bridge.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
So one thing is that it's very simple.
Yeah.
So it's easy to repair, and ships need to handle any repairs out on the water without support sometimes. So simple machines that are easy to fix with the guys you have on board, plus.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Just in case of any emergency. And how about in terms of preservation?
Well, the engines are all ready to go.
Oh.
Pretty much. We have a few things like nice bright brass shiny pieces, need some copper tubing so that drips the oil down onto the moving parts down below, because
And that's
down
moving.
below the crankshafts are up and down like everybody saw in the movie Titanic.
Yeah.
These are the same kind, just miniature, much smaller.
And was Titanic the movie fair enough depiction of that action?
It was an exact depiction. That engine was the engine room off the John W. Brown, I believe.
Yeah.
And those engines are exactly the same kind of engine, just bigger, a lot bigger. So you could replicate the same thing here visually with the cameras and sizing, and it would look huge.
And in
if
fact,
you.
actually, the John Brown engine was about half as big as the Titanic engine. And they did digital things to make it look bigger than it really was.
Oh, interesting. Fascinating. Oh, that's good to know.
There's a scale it with people.
Yeah.
Scale. Oh, yeah.
The engines of each engine on the Titanic weighed as much as this whole ship.
Yeah.
So visualize this bigger, bigger, bigger until it's weighing as much as this whole ship.
Oh, wow.
But the principles are the same.
Yeah.
Just everything is.
Is the ship still able to run today?
She cannot run because we can't boil the water just yet.
Okay.
As soon as we get water boiling, you got to wait for that. Can't watch it. It's a joke, right?
Yeah.
Don't watch the water boiling.
Oh yeah, exactly.
But no, we put boilers or get the boilers working, then we can make the steam, and then we can run the engines.
Right.
But the engines do function.
They do function. Okay.
Yes, they do function.
Nice.
We've turned them over.
Yes.
There's a hand crank mechanism, so you can
Yes.
turn them over,
Mm.
and
And-
all the working parts are there.
With the at least 80% of the steam equipment work, like the main operating steam equipment works. Some of the auxiliaries doesn't work, but things like the boat deck, the main windlass, the two generators, the two main engines, the steering engine works. The general service boiler pump works, and a couple of the other parts do work. But we've got a couple of parts missing, but we're on the hunt for them and actively replacing parts.
Oh, that's good to hear. Is it hard to replace the parts?
It's not really. You'll be amazed that 1933 steamship parts are a lot easier to find than World War II parts at the moment.
Oh, that's fascinating. And you're the operations chief?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
Good.
yes.
Oh, wonderful. And then are people still cranking? Like, if you were to run the ship, would there be individuals down below?
When this ship was under operation, for operation conditions, you would have an engineer in here and at least one oiler, and then you would have a boilerman running on split shifts, so only 4 hours. They would actually split it down to 2 hours on, 2 hours off, 2 hours on. So because it's 115 degrees in here, no matter what the temperature is outside.
115 degrees inside here. Oh wow.
This is one of the only
That's amazing.
spaces that had no insulation.
Right.
They didn't need it.
There is no. Oh yeah, that's right.
It's warm in the wintertime and very warm in the summertime.
And as Seb says, can you expand on the issue of not being able to boil water yet? Is it an EPA issue?
No, the boilers they haven't been run in 60 years, and whatever. They're old and need repair.
I see.
Yeah, and the previous owner was not keeping the weather out, so it was basically raining into the boiler room. There's a fair amount of deterioration, but they're also extremely well built. And we just had the original manufacturer, Babcock and Wilcox, in for a consultation to see if they can be saved or not. So we're working on that.
Oh, that's great to hear.
Yeah. So then once we get the boilers, then we can start listening to the engines go around.
Oh, that's good.
But there is an active replacement of missing engine parts that has occurred 18 months ago, and so that is, or what it is a lot of projects overlap each other. So you can't just go, well, we'll wait for the boiler to be fixed, and but why not fix the engines? Why not do structural steel, etc., etc. And it becomes a very dynamic and complex project. And one of the things about it is, we are weather dependent as well sometimes. But hey, if it's raining outside, we've always got something to fix on. We've got something to fix on the inside. So there's always something to do here.
Fascinating. All right, let's check out the other sections of the ship.
Okay,
Or
well,
you want to say something?
That's
Okay.
actually this gray thing in the background right over here.
Okay.
That's actually a generator. So this little steam engine here would go up and down, turning what is a dial,
Yeah.
and you can see the cables coming out there, and that would send the electricity to the Frankenstein board of switches.
And that would be very dangerous, hence all the
No,
signs.
it wasn't very dangerous. You just didn't want to make it too dangerous.
Yeah.
So you got a direct, there we go. That's what a triple expansion steam engine looks like when it's going.
Oh, interesting.
So people would be
So
down.
this tech is sorry to interrupt. This tech is marvelous to see how all of this was done using mechanical engineering, moving parts. Because today we're also used to semiconductors and
so
tiny little electrical parts.
The engineer could actually go in here, and it's not moving so fast. You could put your hand there, and you could feel the temperature of the bearing to see if it was getting hot. And if it was getting hot, then you had an issue, and then you'd have to make adjustments. Maybe it means more oil. And it's a manageable scale, whereas now modern engines are all encased in their super high-speed diesels, and it all flies apart and explodes very, very quickly if something goes wrong.
So Fiona says, how did it get to Pier 25? Was it tugged over here?
It was towed over here.
Towed over
Yes.
here, okay.
Yes. When we move the ship, we move it with a tugboat.
Okay.
She goes to the shipyard, we get a tugboat.
Oh, I see.
It's called a dead ship tow, unfortunately. But rest assured, the ship's very alive.
Yeah. No ghost in here.
No, there aren't, are there?
We only know of 2 crew members who lost their lives while they worked here, and they both drowned. So
I would say rhetorically.
that's
yeah.
But well, we do get asked about ghosts.
Oh,
So,
literally? Okay.
I've been keeping track.
No random clanks in the middle of the night?
No.
No,
There are ships out there that are, anybody who's worked on a ship before, I've worked on a ship and have been told there are ghosts on the ship. I myself didn't experience, but I've met people who have been on the ship and said, no, there are definitely ghosts here. And some ships get a bad reputation because of it.
Right.
And it's a strange thing because some ships are just, that doesn't happen to it. Despite the fact that there can be, people die on ships. So there's happy ships and there's less happy ships.
There's
Lilacs.
hoodoo ships.
Hoodoo ships.
are
Yeah.
HOODOO. They're ships that are haunted or have like a bad curse on them.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No, it's true. And anybody who's worked on, I've been to sea for a long time, and you come across this stuff.
Yeah.
And I believe, because there's no explanation other than it's cursed.
But in a more realistic sense, is there any time that there's random clanks of the metal or the metal bending?
No.
Things like that.
The best thing is
That's hard to explain
no,
engineering
'cause-
wise.
No, you
Okay.
can. I can stand here, and when everything's really quiet, the ship starts moving around because of the waves, and you hear these creaks and groans.
Yeah.
But they're known. Docks.
Oh, you always-
there's a
you have
the
an
dock
idea.
line
Yeah.
stretching. She doesn't creak too much, but sometimes someone leaves a saw or something hanging, and you can hear it bang. But you know what those sounds are.
Okay.
It's the unknown sounds that freak you out. But I haven't come across them.
Oh, cool. All right.
Let's go up to the
Yeah.
bridge.
Excited.
Let's go to the bridge via the
bridge.
exhibit.
Thank you so much.
So down the passageway
Yeah.
and to your left.
So these are the
So-
bathroom and the quarters.
We've got an exhibit for the 90th year
Yeah.
at the moment.
So these were Chief's Petty Officers' quarters, and everything was very hierarchical and divided. And this was originally the Chief Petty Officer's mess,
Yeah.
but it's become our main gallery. And in the past, we've shown art exhibits here. But this year, because of her 90th birthday, we've decided to show off the ship.
And
And-
Susie asks, are there mice? Because some ships were
No,
notorious for
we
mice.
have not
Yeah.
had mice.
And then
We found the occasional cockroach. That's the worst vermin I've found.
But that's amazing that you have this exhibition and you sometimes bring in
Yeah.
more stuff.
Yeah, and we're planning to expand this.
Okay, great.
This was our first attempt to do a full exhibit about the ship. We've always had a few items on display here and there. So we're really proud of getting this started. And
Here's
this,
the modern kitchen.
this is actually the pantry, where
Pantry.
food for the officers would be prepared. It would have been cooked in the main galley.
Okay.
And the yeoman's office, which always was the ship's office, and we still use it that way. And rather cluttered because it's our volunteer lounge, but originally this was the wardroom, the officers' lounge on the ship.
That's cool. Awesome. I'm glad you guys are
And
well
we'll
fed.
go
with chips.
up the ladder. Sailors like
Yeah.
to say ships don't have stairs; they have ladders.
Right.
And can take a look at one of the officers' staterooms.
Original wood from those ladders?
That one, they were oak. We've rebuilt some of them, so I don't remember off the top of my head if that one's a new one or an old one.
Wow.
But,
So who sleeps here?
This would have been one of the officers. The ship had 3 officers other than the captain. So Guy, who you met, was an executive officer. The executive officer is second in command to the captain. And although anyone who's in charge of a ship is called the captain, in the Coast Guard, on a vessel this size, the rank of the person in charge would actually have been a lieutenant.
Lieutenant, let's see. And then the executive officer is like the commander?
He's second in charge to the
Second in
captain.
charge. Okay.
And then there would have been 2 chief warrant officers, and those would be people who came up through the ranks rather than being commissioned out of the academy. And we'll have to go back out the door.
There's a safe over here.
Yeah, so these are standard issue officers' desks, although these furnishings are things we've salvaged. They weren't on board when we got the ship, but we have matched them to photos. We try to make it look authentic.
Oh, that's good to hear. Can I just show the very stern? Right here, we have the stern with the huge American flag. And this is a national, in the National Register of Historic Places, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Well, Fiona says, will Pier 25 be the permanent home for the Lilac?
We have, we're in the middle of a 3-year contract for the berth, but the park has been renewing with us every 3 to 5 years, so I expect we'll be here for a while. And we'll go up to the bridge through the commanding officer's stateroom.
Joe says, this is so different, I love it. Oh, I'm so glad you're enjoying it, Joe. Thank you so much for watching.
So this
and
is
Ron, thank you so much for tuning in. Yeah.
This is the captain's stateroom.
Oh, nice, and a captain's hat right over here.
From another ship, but yes. Often when you visit a fellowship, they give you a hat. This is a print done by the son of the first captain of the ship.
The captain would have a direct line to where?
The sound-powered phones could connect to almost anywhere else on the ship. Okay. But what's cool about them is that when you speak into them, your voice makes a diaphragm vibrate, and it creates an electrical current, and that's what powers the phone. So it's literally powered by the sound of your voice.
That's so cool.
And the captain's the only one who had a private head, so he's the only one with his own bathroom.
Good. I would not expect any less. It has a shower too.
Right.
All right. And the gyro. Oh, there was a gyroscope here.
Yes, although it was added, we think, after the Coast Guard took over the ship. So originally this was the captain's office, so he had a whole suite.
So gyroscope, was this meant to stabilize the ship?
It's a kind of compass.
Compass.
It's not magnetic.
Okay.
Which is a big benefit on a steel ship.
Well, old style typewriter right here.
Yes, that was recently restored by one of our volunteers.
Susie says, I like the trundle beds. Yeah, they're nice.
They're called captain's bunks because, and you'll still see modern beds called that if they have drawers underneath. So when we were in the engine room, this is where the signal was sent from.
Oh, right up here, okay.
And like we said down there, there's no direct control over the engines from here.
Oh.
You have to send the...
That means it's a confirmation.
Yes, now they've answered.
Okay.
And so we know that they're adjusting those controls on the engines.
Oh, great. Radar?
Radar, that was added in the 1950s. So one of the
beautiful.
Stories is of the ship changing over time.
Yeah.
She is... When we got her, or even back when she was decommissioned in 1972, she was not the way she was in 1933. Things were upgraded. Like I said, the gyroscope was added. She always had a binnacle compass. And I mentioned the problem of
binnacle compass.
Magnetic compasses on a ship. In that case, the binnacle compass compensates for the steel of the ship by surrounding the magnetic compass with copper and brass. So it's isolated in a non-ferrous housing.
I see. Compass, for people who don't know, is meant to judge the direction you're heading.
Right. And the original ship's wheel came back to us.
Oh, really?
One of the stories too is that people involved in the ship in the past have been giving things back to us. I mentioned the lighthouses, but also one of the captains had the wheel. Even this brass mouthpiece on the voice tube, someone had bought from the last owner of the ship and had turned it into a paperclip holder on his desk. And then he found out we were restoring the ship and mailed it back.
Oh, that's so kind of them to do.
Yes.
This is meant to throw notes?
You can speak to the engine room through that.
Okay.
So a lot of redundancy because of the problem of not having control over the engines from here.
Kay asked a general question about vessels. Why are vessels called she in the U.S.?
I have never found an answer to that, actually. But my jokey answer is that because she was the mistress of the captain.
Oh, yeah. The captain would get lonely on those long nights.
In the merchant marine, the commanding officer of the ship is called the master.
The master, okay.
And so I have joked that being in charge of the ship, I can't call myself the mistress of the ship. It would just be wrong.
Yeah, that's right. And
So this bench is where the person keeping watch would rest.
Let's see how comfy it is. Oh wow, it's actually pretty comfy.
Yeah.
Good cushion. I assume you replaced the cushion.
Yes, actually, it's a new cushion.
Yeah, because otherwise it would be very dead after all these years.
Yes.
That's cool.
And I turned on a slide that shows buoy tending, which might be helpful for people to get an even idea of what's involved. Buoys have to be painted because the colors are important. When we went by the one out at the end of the river, Guy was saying you keep the green ones on your left when you head into port. And red right return is the mnemonic that people use. You keep the red ones on your right, and if you stay between the green and red buoys, you'll be in safe water where it's deep enough for any ship to go.
Oh, I see.
And they're numbered in order so that you know you're going the right direction. So those colors and numbers have to be bright. The bigger ones have lights on, like the black and white photo we looked at. The light bulbs and the batteries need to be changed. So all that kind of maintenance was part of what this ship did.
Wow, and the buoy looks big when you see it on land.
Yes, some of them are huge. And sometimes they get run over by ships. Ice breaking up can push them off their station. Their proper location is called a station. But someone's got to pick them up and bring them back.
Yeah.
And that was the job of the ship. That's why she had that big steam-powered boom.
Wow, impressive.
Yeah. They had welding equipment on board to patch them up.
Oleg says this vessel looks like a workhorse. No glamour at all.
No.
And to be a pleasure cruise.
No, it was a workboat.
And
it's part of what we tell visitors when they come in.
Yeah.
It wasn't built for visitors. It wasn't built for passengers. There's a lot of things to trip on. And the crew were all able-bodied young men back in the day.
Were they officially military servicemen or no?
Well, the Coast Guard is considered part of the military,
Okay.
even though it was never part of the Pentagon.
Oh, I see. Interesting. Okay.
Yes. And
so they were all soldiers, military members? Sailors.
Or
okay.
seamen.
Seamen, okay. All right. Interesting. And what wood is used throughout S. Anthony?
Oh, it's almost all white oak.
White oak, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. All right, let me show a little bit more.
Very hard, very durable.
And then we'll end over here. Let's show a little bit here from the outside.
Okay.
Oh, wow. That is nice.
We're
right
heading
here.
into the golden hour here.
Beautiful golden hour. What time is the museum open for anyone who wants to visit?
Our regular hours are 2 to 6 Saturdays and Sundays.
And if Fiona asks, would the workers paint the paint the buoys?
Yeah, the seamen would have painted the buoys, often right on deck.
On deck, okay. So everyone, one more time, visit the LILAC Preservation Project. Highly recommend going to their website to find out more information. And let me pop up the website link right now, lilacpreservation.org, right? lilacpreservationproject.org.
Yes.
Check them out. Visit here, Pier 25, very easily accessible. There's a whole host of subways about a 10-ish minute walk away from Tribeca or downtown Manhattan. And can easily access this via Uber or taxi cab as well. Highly recommend coming over here. I'm having a blast. Thank you so much for inviting us over and giving us an in-depth tour. That's wonderful.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Everyone, check out the other Classic Harbor Line live videos that we did on Classic Harbor Line YouTube. I run Urbanist Exploring Cities on YouTube, Urbanist Live on Instagram. I explore cities all around the world. I've explored other ships like these, like the USS Wasp, and explored ships across the pond, also in Copenhagen, Rotterdam, many other places around London as well, the HMS Belfast. Thank you everyone so much for tuning in. Keep being awesome and always keep on exploring and stay curious, my friends. Have a great day. Bye-bye.